What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot. Welcome to Disney 101. Thanks so much for joining us here today and for giving us a little bit of your time as we kick off the week. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, and today we're going to get into a variety of topics that we missed. I do apologize for this hiatus. It's completely on my end. I'll get into that in a second. But before I do, please welcome onto the show my co-host down in Orlando, Florida, my main man, Steve. Steve, how are you doing today?
Yeah, you know me, magical as always, enjoying the nice sunny weather down here.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been, how was I guess now, you're probably now towards the end of the school year, correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah, we have about a month and a half left. So we finished May 31st is our last day. And definitely not counting down the days or anything. There's definitely not 35 school days left.
Oh, there you go. I can imagine. I mean, for students, I guess it's also scary because it's finals, but for teachers, it must just be fun, like thinking about the idea of, school ending and everything to that extent.
I mean, it does. We kind of get a little bit stressed out for them in a sense too, because there is a lot of grading and stuff on our part, and they have a lot of standardized tests coming up, at least for my grade. So all of the other teachers are kind of getting them prepped for that, and there's a lot of pressure and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a trickle down type thing where they're feeling pressured too, and they're feeling stressed out. So we don't want to stress them out any more than we kind of have to, because there is a certain amount of stress that we have to put on them. But we're all just kind of trying to do our best.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean that it's definitely an exciting time. I wish personally. For me, unfortunately, with all these different things, we're going away in May. By the time the summer rolls around, I'm not going to have any more PTO, so I'm going to be working through most of the summer.
Yeah, I'll be, I'll be thinking about you when I'm next to my pool or at the beach or something.
There you go. For those who don't know, by the way, we do have on the site a little trailer breakdown of the Star Wars Episode 9 trailer teaser. Our buddy Adam came onto the show, and we watched that and did kind of a live reaction. I did. Steve, how did you think that went?
I think it went really well. I mean, like I said, you have to check out the video for my thoughts on it. But yeah, I think it went really well.
Yeah, and I think, definitely it's something that we're considering doing is getting some folks on here, folks that we know who are passionate about things, and hopefully guests as we continue this down the road here. Before we do get started, I do apologize to you, Steve, and to everyone else out there for our brief hiatus. Obviously, you guys know I also do a wrestling project that Steve's helped me out with from time to time as well, called Watch Along Wrestling. And I just, it was the first year I've been doing it, and I completely underestimated the mammoth experience that is WrestleMania. It was down here in New York. And I didn't even, it was like event after event after event after event. WrestleMania itself was like 8 hours long. And it was just insane. It completely took over everything. I didn't even go to work for a couple of days. It was nuts.
Yeah, and I mean, I completely get it. Yeah, and I was also very busy myself. So between the two things, just better off that we try and focus on that stuff, and then make it so that we can do this right.
Exactly. And we also are going to also have some more videos up on the YouTube page. Some fun things that we're in the works with as well. If you are a wrestling fan and you want to check out Watch Along Wrestling, I did do a vlog. Vlogging every day of my WrestleMania week. It's a full week. It goes from Tuesday to Monday. And basically everything I did throughout that entire week is up there. So check that out on Watch Along Wrestling if you're a wrestling fan. But Steve, I know that you went down to the Magic Kingdom and had a bit of a trip there. Was it a couple days ago?
Yeah. So over the weekend, unfortunately, Saturday and Sunday, with my annual pass, we were actually blocked out. So we didn't get a chance really to meet up with them in the parks. We were able to meet up with them a little bit outside, but Thursday and Friday, we were able to spend a lot of time with them. Thursday, we actually went over to Disney Springs, hung out a little bit there, saw the newly reimagined World of Disney store, and we ate at Chef Art Smith's Homecoming, which if you've never been, I highly recommend, both for the fried chicken and also the moonshine cocktails. Great experience overall. It was a couple of their first times being there, so I'm glad to be able to bring them to a place that I know has quality food and is always really on point. So that was a lot of fun. And then Friday night, we met up with my cousins at Magic Kingdom after we all got out of work. and we joined the second half of their vacation at the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, very cool. And so do they do like just one park per day passes? Do they have park hopper passes?
They did one park per day. They used to have annual passes, but because this was kind of a spur of the moment trip for them. Actually, my cousin ended up he actually got an award because for being a Verizon salesman. He's a general manager at one of the Verizon stores in Manhattan, and so his area got like 10% of the company in sales as far completely overall Verizon wide. Um, I'm sure I'm not doing it justice, but that's kind of what I've heard. So they basically got a free trip out of it down to Universal and stuff. So they kind of extended that trip a little bit more, made out of it, and it's really awesome. So we were able to meet up with them on Friday, and we had a blast at Magic Kingdom.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's certainly sales is definitely tough to do too because you need to constantly be on your game, and but that's great. That's great for him. And so, what did you guys do when you went down to Magic Kingdom? Did you guys go on a lot of rides? Was it more of the character meet and greets?
They're definitely more of like the rides people, not really so much with like the shows and like parades and that kind of stuff. But by the time we met them up around 5 o'clock or so, and they had done most of the rides already, even though it was pretty crowded. This is kind of because we're blocked out, this is kind of like the kickoff of spring break, the next 2 weeks with Easter and all that stuff. So a lot of spring breakers down there. So the Magic Kingdom was kind of crowded, not the absolute most crowded that I've ever seen it, but definitely up there as far as my experience as a guest.
Yeah, no, that sounds. I can only imagine. So now, are you blocked out for the next 2 weeks, or are you just blocked out for the weekends?
We are blocked out for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, so anybody with a gold annual pass is blocked out of all four theme parks for the next 2 weeks.
That is tough. That's very, and you can't even go like just for a couple hours in the evening or anything.
Yeah, no, unfortunately. But on the other hand, most of us that are gold annual passes, it's a Florida exclusive annual pass.
Oh, right.
So most of us, the idea is kind of like, well, most people that have the opportunity to go whenever they want really aren't going to choose these 2 weeks to go. Certainly it would have been great to go with them, to Animal Kingdom that they went on Saturday. But we weren't able to make it work.
Yeah, that's but that at the same time, so it's this time period, I'm assuming also Christmas week, that's probably completely blacked out.
Yeah, the 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year's. So I think it's like the week leading up to Christmas, and then that week between Christmas and New Year's, and then I think it would start again on like the second or third.
Oh, okay. So at the end of the day, I mean, again, if you're a Florida resident, you're probably okay.
You're probably okay not going to the absolute most crowded.
Can't do like New Year's fireworks.
No, but you know what? Like we saw, you could definitely go over to the Polynesian, sit out in that Trader Sam's outdoor area, and experience the New Year's Eve fireworks anyway.
Oh, you're right. That is absolutely true. Now, what did you did you guys eat at Magic Kingdom?
We did actually. So we ate at Pecos Bill's, and it's a quick service restaurant. It definitely has a Tex-Mex feel to it, and we actually got a variety of different options. I got the fajita platter. I'm silly when it comes to pronouncing certain things, so I always call them vagitas. So when I was ordering my food, I had to pause for a moment and actually think about what I was saying. So I got the fajita platter, which came with grilled chicken and pulled pork and rice and beans and a couple of other things that you can kind of make your own fajita platter. My wife having the gluten allergy, she actually got the jerk chicken lettuce wraps that were actually pretty good.
Oh, those sound.
Yeah, and then it was kind of filled in. There was a couple like the Southwest salads. They looked pretty good, and somebody got a bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, that's awesome. I've heard a lot of really good things about Pecos Bills actually at Magic, because Magic Kingdom isn't really known, I'd say, for their places to eat there.
Well, I mean, part of the thing is that because it's the most theme, it's the most amusement parky theme park, I guess you could kind of say. So because of the fact that it has to cater to such a wide crowd and you don't really have a lot of themed places, if you go to Epcot, when you go to the countries, all of the food is going to be around those countries. So, the quality might differ more or less,
Right.
but you're going to get different stuff. It's not going to be that generic, hot dogs and hamburgers type thing that you're probably going to get at most places at Magic Kingdom, just because of
Right.
the fact that they do kind of have to cater to that wider audience. And especially it's the most family oriented and kid oriented theme park. So they're going to be geared towards those younger kids and those picky eaters, which means you're going to have a lot of stuff that's going to be maybe on the blander side or maybe just on the basic side. But Pecos Bills is definitely one of those places that where if you are looking for something a little bit more different, or if you're looking for something with, definitely either a healthier option or just something different, it's a great option.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And I mean, I think the places I've gone to Magic Kingdom to eat is obviously the character dining that we did. That's still there, right?
Oh yeah,
With Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends.
the Crystal Palace, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a buffet, so it's
I
one
love.
of the
I know a lot of people don't like buffets. Certainly, my wife would definitely not be somebody to be rallying to get back to a buffet. But I thought it was awesome, especially because they have a lot of your types of foods that I enjoy: your chicken tenders, your mac and cheese, your French fries, your that type of food.
yeah.
Um,
Your corn dog nuggets, your that kind of stuff.
yeah, and anything that's like a Disney character shape, forget it. I think it's immediately gets extra points for me. Then they also had. I know I've been to the Beauty and the Beast place, the Be Our Guest, which everyone loves.
Yeah.
But I went there when it was only. Now I don't know if it was only lunch, but I know we went there for lunch.
Yeah, well, so they've always done lunch and dinner, but they also do breakfast within the past couple of years. It wasn't right when it immediately opened, but they do breakfast as well there.
Right. I think when we went, it was when it first opened because we went for lunch and it was like a huge line.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it still is because it's popular, and they say, okay, well, we know you don't have to make it advance reservations for lunch, so everybody's gonna line up and try and get into the castle because we couldn't get a dinner reservation. So
right. And then probably the only other place I've eaten at Magic Kingdom is the Lady and the Tramp deal that in the front of on Main Street, USA.
Tony's Town Square restaurant, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and that was pretty good. I mean, it was okay. I probably not incredible, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good Italian food. I would say it's, maybe slightly above like an Olive Garden,
Yeah.
or like Carrabba's, but you're not going for, it's not like you're going to Little Italy or, like something like that to actually get very super authentic Italian food. It's going to be Italian themed and it's going to be good, but it's not going to blow your mind. Like, if you go to Italy, for example, at Epcot, if you go to Via Napoli, or even if you go to Tutto Italia, or I'm blanking on the one at the boardwalk, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think those are usually your ones that you'd want to go to if you were going for it. We went to the one in was Via Napoli, the one in Via Napoli, the one in Hollywood Studios.
That is Mama Melrose.
Oh, that was pretty good too.
Yeah, that's actually I would say if you're not going to Epcot or you're not going to the boardwalk for whatever reason and you want Italian food, definitely check out Mama Melrose. They have excellent service and they do have a lot of good options, especially for even if you do have a gluten allergy, which is hard to find sometimes in an Italian restaurant.
Excellent. And did you guys stay till the park closed and then do the whole fireworks yesterday? I mean Friday, or?
So because it is kind of kicking off spring break, the park was open until 11, but we only stayed until the fireworks.
Oh, okay. That's
So the
cool.
fireworks were at 9:15, so we pretty much left with 100,000 other people, it seemed.
Probably a lot of people left. Yeah, that for me, because of the fact that I love to get on, personally speaking, obviously since I've been with my wife and we go down there, we usually don't even make it to the fireworks. But in a perfect world, after the fireworks, it's like your time to get on as many things as you can in that last couple hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And even, if for some reason you're not a fan of fireworks, that's the best time to go while the fireworks are going on.
Yes.
One, so that maybe if you're on a ride like Splash Mountain or the Astro Orbiter, you get a great view of the fireworks. But otherwise, it's going to be probably the shortest lines aside from when the park first opens.
Well, I mean, I always say too, I think Splash Mountain is I think it's I think people build up how wet you get on Splash Mountain. I don't think I've ever gone on Splash Mountain and got off the ride completely drenched. And I think that ride is even better at night. And I think that there's never that big of a line at night because everyone's so concerned with how wet they're going to be that once it starts to get a little cooler, no one wants to go on the ride.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, it did not get any cooler at night.
Last night. Yeah, sure.
It was okay. I probably could have gone on Splash Mountain at night and been okay.
Well, how is it right now, weather-wise?
I mean, right now it's in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, the good thing is that it's not really humid yet, or at least it wasn't yesterday, or on Friday. Saturday it got a little bit worse, and I know my cousins had kind of mentioned that because they went to Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is just naturally more humid because of all the plants and everything around you. So yeah, it wasn't bad, but we're at that time where it's going to be okay in the morning, be like comfortable in the morning, but when it hits that mid-afternoon, those highs, it can get kind of brutal. And I know a lot of people were from actually we we were in a group of people that were from Long Island. Seemed like it was a lot of high school kids, and they were all like, "Oh, it's so hot." I'm like, "This is nothing."
Yeah, no, we with WrestleMania being last weekend, we lucked out. It ended up being like 60s, 70s for WrestleMania itself, and now here it's now probably back in the 50s, raining and just humid and terrible. But that's good to know that it's not so unbearable for wrestling fans because of the fact that WrestleMania this time next year will be in Tampa, and we'll be right there. So I mean, 80s is not so bad. I'm thinking like we're going to be out there sweating, at 100-degree weather, but 80s is not so bad.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend planning ahead and bringing shorts and t-shirts and not trying to mess around with jeans or anything like that.
No.
Just because also when you it might not be too bad, but when you and 100,000 of your close friends are all next to each other, that body heat can get real.
Yeah, and I for some reason thought because it was April that I didn't need a sunblock when I went with Adam over to the Met game last week and got like fried. So certainly also remembering to wear that. But anything else you wanted to talk about your trip? Did you get on any rides yesterday when you went?
We did, yeah. So it was funny because we weren't sure when we were going to be able to meet up or anything. So my cousins just instinctively had made fast passes for the rest of us for the Haunted Mansion earlier in the day.
Oh wow!
And they went on it, but it had broken down at some point during that time. So we actually, the rest of us, had gotten basically the redemption fast pass where you could redeem it for almost anything. So they had made fast passes for themselves later on for Pirates of the Caribbean. So we were all able to go and use a fast pass for Pirates of the Caribbean. And then we did Haunted Mansion. And then that was kind of it as far as, just walking around and, between eating, doing those two rides, and then waiting for the fireworks. So that was kind of our day.
And which one did you decide to go on for the multiple experiences?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Those are great rides. So you did well. Now, do you know the not so moral hack as to how to get around the multiple experiences in the Magic Kingdom?
Probably, but I don't know which specific one you're talking about because there's a few.
Should I share that here? Or is that not a good idea too? No. Well, I mean, it's not really a hack. Basically, one day we had multiple experiences. We went to a ride. We showed them the multiple experiences. They didn't scan it, and then they were, just go. And we were like, okay. And so we were like, they didn't scan it, so we're gonna just keep going on rides. And we went on like 10 rides before they finally decided to scan the multiple experiences. So I don't know if it's a hack. I think it was just.
I wouldn't say that's a hack. I would just say that is those cast members trying to make a magical moment, maybe for you guys.
Maybe.
No, there are definitely other ways that are definitely less ethical that you can get around it.
Yeah, I don't feel like what we did was so bad. I feel like anyone would have done what we did.
No, because that's on them. Because that's it's not like you just tried to, like, cut through or something and didn't try and show them. Like, you tried, and you showed them, and, like, the last cast member to do it was the only one that was kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going to make sure that they,
Well, the
haven't
one
been
that
doing
did it
this all
was,
day.
well, the one that did it was like, oh, let me just scan that real quick. He's like, sorry, there's people that, take photos of it, and it's not, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think to do that.
Right.
Well, we got it scanned. We were like, that's the end of our run. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll actually work for any. But that was great because we got on like literally every ride that day because we just kept walking and giving it to them, and they were like, nah, just go. It's cool. Don't worry about it. And I think they probably thought we didn't realize we could just go on different attractions, or they just didn't care that day.
No, I think they were trying to make magical moments for you guys.
They figured we'd know and
Yeah.
keep going on rides all day. And well, we sure did. But speaking of the Magic Kingdom, did you hear about the guy that they thought had stolen a magical band?
I did hear that. Yeah, I did hear that.
On the Twitter of the police. Like,
yeah.
The police reached out on Twitter and said that I had the thing up, and it looks like my phone is falling, so I might have to depend on you to pull up the news things here. But yeah, my phone is gone. But they said something like, "This is certainly not somebody that we could." They said something like, "He's certainly not very magical," or something like that.
Yeah, well, it was these guys are definitely not galactic heroes.
That was it. Which
Call 407. Yeah, blah blah blah.
And then they put a little picture like of like an emoji of the guy smacking his own face, and it was so weird that the police like were using Disney lingo in their tweet. But it does go to show, like, it's certainly not something to mess around with at all. We talk about using that multiple experiences fast pass a couple times, but this guy and it wasn't, and apparently like they had the whole park looking for this guy, and it turned out he wasn't the guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, which makes sense because that's definitely in those like Darwin Award type things where if you're going to actually go and steal a magic band, don't use it for a ride that's going to take your picture where your picture is linked to your magic band so you can see.
How did they think it was him though?
Oh, I mean, maybe some sort of facial recognition or something, or maybe he was somewhere in the area when it's not like there's actually GPS on your magic bands or anything. Like the people that that think that there's a lot of stuff in the magic band, there's not GPS or anything like that. So it's not like they could have pinged the magic band and said, oh, he's by Space Mountain or he's by Buzz Lightyear. It could have been just that he matched the description of whoever it is that they were looking for.
And then I guess what they probably did was they probably checked his magic band and noticed it was his own name, right? I guess that's how we got off with this not being him.
Well, you can go and see, okay, what are all the other pictures that are associated with that magic band and kind of thing. And, if in one picture you are, a 12-year-old girl on that taking that picture, and in the next man, you're a grown man, you can say, okay, well, that's not the same person. So what's going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy to think someone would steal someone's man. It feels like that as low a thing as you could possibly get in life.
Well, and especially considering there's not really a whole lot you can do with it. Because even if you're trying to do the touch to pay, you still have to put in your PIN number. If you're trying to get into another park, you still have to put your finger on the thing and have it read your biometrics. The only real benefit is if for some reason that has a lot of fast passes on it, that's about as far as you can get with it. Like,
yeah, that's the only thing I was even thinking he could do, because if he tries to get into the park, they're just going to say this doesn't match up, and that's going to be the end.
Yeah. Unless you happen to know what PIN number they were using for their touch to pay.
Oh, right.
Which could, that could be, because all you need is, you touch your magic band, you enter in the PIN number, and then whatever you want to charge, you can charge. But, that's probably the furthest that you could absolutely get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you tried to like steal someone's as they were entering the park, you wouldn't get in.
No.
Yeah, so that was very weird. But you also said there was a couple other news things that you wanted to touch. It does sound like you had a really cool trip to the Met. I love hearing about when people go down to any theme park, even somebody that yourself who goes pretty frequently. It's always good to hear about experiences at theme parks and what each person did. I think each trip is different no matter what you do and where you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we want to talk about just theme parks in general, a couple of weeks ago, we went on a field trip to SeaWorld.
Really?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun too.
With your students or just the two of you?
Oh no, with my students, our sixth grade class went to SeaWorld.
And I heard they have new rides there, right?
They do, yeah. Which I was actually really impressed by. We didn't really do we because basically when the teacher that was organizing the group and like dividing up groups and that kind of thing, they were like, okay, like what are you going to be doing? What are you going to be doing? And I'm like, I want to go on all the rides. That's what I want to do. So put me with the kids that want to go on all the rides.
That's
So
awesome.
that's what she did. So like we didn't do a lot of the shows that are there. We didn't do a lot of like the smaller stuff and like the animal exhibits and stuff. We just did the rides. So we got there at about 9 o'clock when the park opened, and we stayed until about 5:30 ish. We spent that whole time going on rides.
And there
So
was enough rides to get through that much time?
we did most of them multiple times.
Gotcha.
We stopped to like
I
have
went,
lunch
there
and that
was
kind of
only a
stuff.
few rides
But
there.
so there are three big rides, or like three big roller coaster rides there. There's Kraken, which is a lot like the Incredible Hulk at Universal. There is Mako, which is a big hyper coaster, so it's a little bit smaller than Nitro at Six Flags. But
Is it one where like you start inside somewhere and you almost see like something swimming next to you and then you take off?
that is Manta.
Man,
So yeah, so Mako, I'm gonna kind of try and compare them to other rides that you might know.
yeah.
So Mako is kind of like Nitro. It's a little bit smaller, but only by like 20 feet or something.
Wow.
But everybody that has been on both kind of says Mako maybe has a little bit of an edge as far as the intensity goes. And then Manta is a Superman-like ride where you're strapped in, but you're horizontal, you're level with the ground the whole time. So that was a really cool ride.
That's really
And it goes like upside down and stuff. And yeah, so I was actually really impressed by the quality of the rides.
not
But
an every ride, but it does sound very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, they're made by well-known roller coaster manufacturers. So it's not necessarily like SeaWorld going out and making this ride. It's, they will go similar to what Six Flags and a few other theme parks do. They'll go and say, okay, B&M is a big one. So B&M roller coasters all throughout the world are known for their super high quality and smoothness and that kind of thing. And that's what a couple of those rides are.
Gotcha.
So that, and then there's a couple of water rides. So there's Journey to Atlantis, which is actually kind of a hybrid because it's half water ride, half roller coaster.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, which they did not tell me going in. I just thought it was a water ride. And then one of my kids looks at me and goes, "Oh, now it's time for the roller coaster." I'm like,
wow. That's cool. See, we went, but it was the day that we signed up for that ridiculous when we bought the timeshare.
oh yeah.
So we went, and it was like we were so excited. We got like really cheap tickets to go, and we were so excited for like the first hour, and then it was widespread panic after it sunk in. I think what happened was I texted you. I was like, "Hey, we just bought this timeshare. Isn't this great?" And you were like, "No, why would you buy a timeshare? Like, you guys, what are you doing? You're getting married, and if you wanted a timeshare, we should have just done Disney Vacation Club. What are you doing?" And then I looked at Ari and was like, "This is a terrible idea. What are we doing? We should cancel this right now." And we spent the rest of the time at SeaWorld maybe going on like one other ride and then just trying to figure out every way we could cancel. And we had been able to. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely go back. It was great being able to go for free, to know that I would go back. So yeah, and actually go and maybe next time experience some of the shows and some of the other stuff that there is there. But yeah, and then there's like a raft ride that was actually really cool. Like a raft water ride.
Oh,
But
yeah, okay. Similar, I guess, to the ride with the bear in Animal Kingdom.
yeah, so the river rapids, the Kali River Rapids, so similar to that, but instead of an actual lift hill, it's almost like an elevator where you get to a point and then it just lifts you up to the drop and then you go.
Oh, damn, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then did you also there's also one where it's like a virtual reality thing, right?
So Kraken used to be virtual reality, but they did away with it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They rechanged it so that it's called Kraken Unleashed now. It's the same ride. where it used to be virtual reality, but they don't have it anymore. I don't know if they have plans of bringing it back or not, but it would have been really cool to see that.
Yeah, when we went, I think there was like maybe a 3D show or something type deal where you were like, it seemed a little dated, but it was still cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
I don't think we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
It
really
was,
just the thrill rides and that's it.
yeah. Well, I think Ari likes those types of.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.
My wife tries to get on the roller coasters, and we're working towards it. But
She would be okay with Journey to Atlantis, and she would probably be okay with the water ride, the other water ride. I don't know about the three big roller coasters though.
well, she just did, and actually, I'm going to put this up on our YouTube page later in the week. She did this past time when we went to Disneyland. She did do the Incredicoaster, which I thought was pretty good. I thought it was pretty big of her to do because
Yeah, definitely,
yeah. So, but that sounds like an awesome time. It's good to hear that SeaWorld's doing well. That's one of the first. When I was a kid, I'd always go to Disney, and my grandfather was always pumping to go to SeaWorld. And SeaWorld at the time never really had too many rides because the entire point of SeaWorld was to go and see Shamu.
yeah, exactly.
So you'd go there, and then the splash zone would happen. But they've really done away with a lot of the shows, so it's good to know that they are building up the park and adding some more rides.
Yeah, and I mean it's good because really, as you know, as much as everybody loves Disney World, there aren't as many thrill rides like like big rides. Like the biggest ride is probably maybe Rock and Roller Coaster, and it's as much as I love it, it's like a minute and a half long. And then next up would probably be Expedition Everest as far as like intensity.
Right.
But then beyond that, it drops down, as far as roller coasters go. And so it's good to know that there are places, at least in Central Florida, that you can go. Now, if you want even more, you can head out to Busch Gardens in Tampa, and they have some crazy intense rides. And they have another one coming down that's supposed to be like the biggest, fastest, tallest, biggest drop hybrid roller coaster in the world, kind of stuff.
Well, we should pencil that in maybe when the Tampa happens next year.
There you go. I think it might be open by then. So there we go.
Oh, that'd be very cool. Speaking of other things that are really cool, Disney did bring out and kind of roll out some of their Disney Plus type stuff. And I had this on my phone. My phone is, I think, fallen behind my couch, so I can't grab it. But did you see any of this stuff here for Disney Plus that they or heard about anything that they kind of showed? It was like they showed like a preview of it or something.
Yeah, so I mean, there's also they showed a preview of it, and there's a lot of just other stuff, and then they started to say, okay, here's everything that's going to be coming to it, which is virtually everything in the Disney library, including a lot of stuff that's in the so-called Disney Vault. But not only that, but also things like The Simpsons, thanks to the Fox merger. Oh. So the entire Simpsons catalog is going to be on Disney Plus. And we know that there's going to be a lot of, exclusives, like Disney Plus original series, like the Star Wars Mandalorian series.
Right, and that series, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they've even said that like post Episode 9, they're going to be turning their Star Wars story over to the Netflix, the Disney Plus series.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So there's that. And the crazy thing is that it's all going to be for either $7 a month or $70 for the year.
That is insane. $70 for the year is, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, and the idea is really to kind of undercut Netflix. Part of it is that it doesn't have as big of a library as Netflix. At least yet, but still with the entire, you could probably figure out something with how long it would take you to actually watch all of the Disney movies, Disney series,
all the library of everything. All the Disney movies are going to be on there too?
All the Disney movies.
So that really gets rid of the entire, that collect, because it's the whole deal with the Blu-ray / DVDs that once you get them, they go back into the vault for several years. Kind of gets rid of that entire market.
Yeah, or at least, if you want a streaming service, I'm sure there's still a lot of old school people that want to, hold on to those DVDs and Blu-rays. Part of it is you don't necessarily know if they're going to have a, download and watch later ability like Netflix does. So
Netflix has a download. Oh, wow. I didn't realize Netflix had an offline deal. That's cool.
Yeah. So, unless they're going to offer that, or unless you're going to be in a place where you don't have Wi-Fi or that kind of thing, you still might have to rely on those other things. But yeah, the only movie that I would question that is not probably going to show up is Song of the South.
Right, right. Which of course that'll be the one that everyone wants because it's not going to be there.
Right. Well, you can find like bootleg copies on like YouTube and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be the original.
That is crazy though. Wow, what that's wild. That every Disney movie is gonna. That's my gosh. I'm gonna go and watch like the super obscure stuff. Like that is gonna be like pulling up like your hardcore old like movies I haven't seen and thought about forever.
Yeah, like the Black Cauldron and all of those direct to VHS and DVD movies of the 90s and early 2000s and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I do know that I think you need to get out of here soon, but I did want to, you also mentioned that Bob Iger has mentioned that 2021 he is going to be stepping down as the CEO of Disney, right?
Yeah, which is, I mean, a huge news. It's not unexpected. A lot of people thought it was going to be earlier than that so that he could make a 2020 presidential run.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, but who knows? My wife kind of joked, it's like, oh no, he's stepping down in 2021 on Inauguration Day.
Oh, okay.
But so it could be that maybe it's going to be sooner than that, but it sounds like that is going to be his stepping down point.
Wow, which is huge because he's done. I mean, he's been so big for Disney and done so many different things. Really, just been revolutionary for the entire. I mean, just think of the deals that have happened under his guise and some of the things with the theme parks. It's just really been. And now it seems like, they're really trying to reimagine and recreate Hollywood studios and build that up. So it seems like he's always working, always trying to do different things too.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think a lot of people are, some people have mixed things about him, as far as like, paying cast members and stuff at Disney World and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, aside from that, everything that he, as far as growing Disney as a company and growing Disney as a brand and stuff, I think everybody can kind of agree that in that regard, his tenure as CEO has been very, very, very successful.
Absolutely. And if you said there was something else you wanted to get into as well?
I mean, there's a couple of interesting things. The most interesting thing, at least, that's kind of sent some waves down here is the announcement that Disney is going to ban smoking completely in the theme parks, as well as large strollers, coolers, and other things that are basically like dragging, like kind of like suitcase style stuff, as well as dry ice and actually liquid ice as well.
Really? So the coolers, I mean, the smoking's kind of big because there are smoking areas now sometimes in some of the parks, right?
There are as of right now, there are certain designated smoking locations, but as of May 1st, those will go away as well, and you will only have designated smoking locations outside of the theme park. And I think as well as in Disney Springs and Downtown Disney in the West Coast, because this applies to both parks, as well as only designated smoking locations at the hotels themselves.
Wow. So people will need to literally, if they want to go get a cigarette, they're going to have to leave the park and go all the way there.
Yes, exactly. Which, I can see a lot of people, especially, the people that are holding on to those cigarettes, the few that remain still are, I mean, I don't know what you would say, hardcore enthusiasts of smoking that, they want to promote their rights and everything. But, on the same time, like it's, part of it is, some people say it's not fair because people that should smoke, people that smoke cigarettes should be able to smoke wherever you want. But on the other hand, you are technically on private property, so they can make up whatever rules they want to. It's kind of like a back and forth thing, but I am completely all for it. Now, the thing is that this is both for cigarette smoking and also like vaping as well. So it's going to be interesting to see who is actually going to be enforced by this. I saw a lot of people on these posts that are actually cast members or former cast members that are saying, yeah, it's not really going to be enforced that much because people don't really enforce it 100% as it is. Sometimes you'll see a coordinator or a supervisor, but your regular front of the line cast member, most of the time, it isn't worth it to them to get into that argument
Right. It's probably
with
going to
that
be
person, because the person that's, it's kind of one of those things where the kind of person that's going to light up wherever they want to anyway is the kind of person that's probably going to punch you in the face if you say something to them.
right. Exactly. Well, it might be something where, if somebody's vaping, they might just say, "Hey, come on, put that away," and then walk away. Like, I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, and from a cast member's perspective, they deal with people yelling and cursing them out, and treating them rudely on a daily basis anyway when they're just doing their base job.
Right.
So when they go out of their way to tell someone not to do something, most of them aren't going to try and pick that fight. Most of them are going to choose their battles and say, "I'm just going to turn my head the other way and pretend like I didn't see that."
Exactly. Which I mean,
is
makes
unfortunate,
sense.
but it's kind of the nature of the beast.
Right. Now, I do think that maybe the cigarettes they will ask people to put down, because I mean, this is big for folks that don't smoke cigarettes and don't want that necessarily, that secondhand smoke. I've seen people at downtown Disney or Disney Springs just smoking away as they're walking through, and the crackdown on that, for me, it's not something that necessarily bothers me, but for some folks it does, and I think that that I do think will be enforced, and so that's really big.
Yeah, I mean, if you have really bad allergies or asthma or something like that, this could probably trigger something in you.
Sure.
So, and also just it's not pleasant smelling, and it's kind of like having a smoking area in anywhere is kind of like having an area in a swimming pool where it's like, this is the peeing area versus the non-peeing area. Like,
you're right. Which would be pretty funny if they did have that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I feel like honestly, some of the other things are going to be a little bit more pushback, like the stroller sizes. Saying that there's going to be a limit on how big of a stroller you can bring into certain theme parks. Like the coolers, the no ice, the no dry ice things. I feel like that is a little bit more common nowadays than the smoking ban, even though you would think that the smoking ban is a little bit bigger. I think it's undercutting some of these other policies that they're implementing.
I didn't know people brought coolers there. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
the thing is, you can bring, as long as it's not, opened containers of alcohol or closed containers of alcohol either. You can bring whatever you want into the park. So you can bring all of the food, all the drinks, and every stuff, all that stuff that you want. But it's just now that you can't bring ice or dry ice. You can still have it in a cooler as long as it's like a cooler bag or something like that. It can't be one of those like wheeled, suitcase style coolers.
And what do you think the point of the no ice is?
To cut down on mess.
Okay.
Cut down, because I would see people just we've used up all of the stuff that's in this cooler and we still have all this ice or all this water. I'm just going to dump it wherever I can. And I think it's to cut down on that, to cut down on probably a few other things, which is, it's like they're saying you can bring a regular normal sized cooler or like a backpack or something like that has, ice packs in it. Ice packs are going to be okay, but ice and dry ice, anything that's going to melt and, be a hazard if you were to try and dump it somewhere that's where the issue is kind of coming in.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, because you don't want it to be like a situation where you have, that makes a certain degree of sense. But at the same time, I'm sure that is going to be quite the adjustment for people. Where would people leave a cooler? Outside of the
so I think what I don't think they've actually said what's going to happen, but I would imagine if you bring in one of these things, whether it's the big stroller or a cooler or a wagon or something like that, because people will even bring in like the Red Rider wagons, like the little kid wagons. People bring those into the parks too, and those aren't going to be there anymore either, because those are more of like a tripping hazard and space and that kind of thing.
Also, you can fall out of it. The kid could fall out.
Yeah. So I think that kind of stuff, probably they'll tell you that you have to check it at the front of the park, just like they do like the selfie sticks and that kind of stuff. Anything else that you're not allowed to bring into the parks, they'll usually check at the front of the park at guest relations, and then you can claim it at the end of the night.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, where would people I'm talking like, why would, like, if someone's bringing a cooler in, do they just lug it around all day and leave it outside of every ride?
Yeah. You would have to, or some you might be able to bring it in, and if you can fit it between your feet, you could do that.
Uh,
But anything else, yeah, you'd have to find a place to stash it while you're on the ride.
Shout out to Meg Lynch, man. She loved bringing a cooler. My gosh. Um, but yeah, and also you mentioned one other thing before we were going on the air. I had it on my phone, and my phone fell.
Well, there's one or two. There's a bunch of stuff that we don't really have a whole lot of actual details on, but there's going to be permanent Future World Festival Center, a beer garden, new Starbucks, water maze, and a lot more coming to Epcot for the so-called Project Gamma expansion, which is going to be taking place in Future World. There's a few other things about like some sort of other interactive area that's going to be at Epcot during this reimagining, and a lot of other things that are going to be coming down the pike. But it's just we don't really have a lot of details about it. We just know that there's a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation and stuff like that swirling around it. So maybe something over, something that's going to happen there. And also, we do know that there has been something that's going to be confirmed with the new Beauty and the Beast inspired lounge coming to Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa this fall.
Right, which is going to be for those of you guys who have checked out. A lot of you have, so thank you for that. Our monorail pub crawl, and that is something that that's something that definitely that's right there in Meisner's Lounge. That's where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, so the Meisner's Lounge and Commander Porter's, it's going to be a reimagined area, and they have seen some of the some of the concept art and some of that stuff, and it looks really cool. It looks like it's going to be kind of like a 360 bar where you have a lot of bar space in the area, and then your bartender is going to kind of just be in the middle walking around. And it looks like it's almost themed after the ballroom of Beast Castle.
Okay.
And these are just concept images, so it's possible that it could look a little bit different, something like that. But it looks pretty cool.
And it doesn't have a date on that yet, right?
No, it just says this fall, and more information to come.
One of the things that I think is pretty interesting is the idea that they're going to be bringing this out, and it's going to be something where they're going to be doing another Beauty and the Beast deal, because there was already Be Our Guest restaurant. So you wonder, I mean, Beauty and the Beast is super popular, but you wonder if they should have maybe done something else in that Grand Floridian place.
Well, I mean, Grand Floridian is all about, that, as you've seen, that grand and majesty and just this over-the-top opulence.
Right.
And if you think over-the-top opulence in any Disney movie, the Beauty and the Beast ballroom is absolutely the pinnacle of that. So I think that's kind of where they're going for. And there is a lot of, princess theming in the Grand Floridian already. So it just makes sense to kind of add on to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's, I think you're right about that. And it'll be interesting to see. It'll be fun to go and visit. And it's cool. It's always cool to see whenever they're bringing out new experiences, even outside of the parks, to go, like we had done the virtual reality over there. And, it's really good stuff. So, is that all that you had today?
I think that pretty much wraps up all of the big stuff. There's minor stuff that always pops up here and there, but I think that goes at least the big stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's definitely a fun episode. Always good to hear about the different theme park trips. We're going to be working on some other things here on Disney 101 in terms of YouTube videos, throwback videos. Also some smaller type hotline type deals like we did the other day with the Star Wars stuff. And so let us know what you think in the comment section below. Let us know if you've had any recent trips down to the Magic Kingdom and things that you've done. And that's going to do it for us today. So Steve, thanks so much for jumping on here today. And anything else you wanted to add before we get out of here?
Just keep your eyes peeled for a new segment that's going to be coming out with me and my journey onto the Run Disney Challenge that's coming up in this fall. I'm starting a new kind of short video segment series called Disney Run 01.
I love it.
It's going to detail, things about Run Disney and just overall, things tips and tricks and that kind of stuff, suggestions for maybe if you are interested in doing a Run Disney event or just getting into shape and getting into running in general. I'm going to start a very, it's a short video series, so keep your eyes peeled for that on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was what I was alluding to. I didn't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
announce it, but definitely exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it, and sounds like a really fun series. So very cool. So I guess until next time, everybody, thanks so much for checking us out here today. Follow us over on Twitter at Disney 101 Pod. We'll definitely be jumping on there a lot more. You can also follow us at Disney 101 Pod on Instagram. And make sure if you do like what you see, you leave a big thumbs up and subscribe to Disney 101 here on YouTube. So until next time, everybody, thanks so much again, and have a magical week.